And then I think we are okay to get started. We are recording. Do I have someone who can be the voice of the chat? Duly named the chat master? Somebody volunteer to do that?
I'll do that, Holly.
Who's that?
Beth.
All right, thank you. Did you say Beth? Who was it?
Beth.
Beth, thank you, Beth.
Hanselov? Yeah.
Thank you, Beth. Just be the voice of the chat and make sure we don't.
Yeah.
And then we have, I'm gonna mute everybody, so you'll have to.
I'm gonna mute.
Yeah, everybody mute up. Do I have a volunteer that can be the note taker? You can do it right on the agenda as we talk. Anyone? Bueller?
Otherwise, it's just your memory and mine.
Okay,
All right, so let's go with that. We're fine.
all right.
Let's get moving because the goal is we do want to get people out by 3 o'clock. So I want the 31 participants who are out there to be clock watchers and do some countdowns for us. Appreciate that. Thanks for joining us today. We thought it was important that we offer a Zoom meeting and a recorded version of it for people as we try to just get caught up on things. We're finding, and I think you're also finding, things are changing so quickly and we're getting bombarded with stuff. So it's really difficult sometimes to, for certain, know everything. And so we would just want to bring up to speed on things because people are at different stages in the development of knowing where we're at as a school with COVID return to school. You're going to find there's still a lot of blank areas in terms of what's going to be happening. But that's part of returning to school. So, first, I want to thank the people who've been involved with the return to school work group. I think at one meeting we had 47 people connected to the meeting. They did a great job of getting a quick understanding of what the issues were by looking at a 12-page document that Wisconsin Department of Health Services had in terms of here's what you should have in place before you return to school. And then we started doing some template guides for what the plan might look like. And one thing to keep in mind, the plan that we have and administrative rules that we'll be developing are very fluid rules. Very fluid plan. It has to be. I want to emphasize again 3 core concepts that we had when we worked with the group. It must be practical, flexible, and then acceptable locally to our community. So what we want to start out with, though, is to go over that. The other group of people I want to thank is, I know a lot of people have been doing a lot of work getting ready for school already, beyond just being involved with the return to school plan. So many of you have been in school, and I know you've been working out of school thinking about what you're going to do when we get back. I want to thank Holly for all the work that she's been doing. I tell you, one school board member described she's had to jump into the deep end, and she has. And her ability to try to meet with people, communicate with people, I think it's just absolutely stunning and exactly what we need right now. So I appreciate all the work of so many people. I appreciate your thoughtfulness as we move forward with this. I'm confident that whatever and however we do it, it will be done well. At the same time, we're going to say, holy moly, there's still a lot more we can be doing. But don't get overly nervous about that. Just rely on the expertise that you have. Hopefully we learned some wonderful lessons from when we had the shutdown in March. And I know that what we've learned from that will just really help us as we move forward. So the first thing up on the screen is going to be an updated plan. So Holly, you want to bring it up?
Yep.
What we've done is we took the plan that was put together, and it actually, I call it consensus agreement of the people at the last work session. There was nobody opposed to it. Now, we had some really good discussions on different parts of it. I just valued every point of view that was expressed on it. This is going to the school board for approval at Monday's board meeting. They will clearly understand that this is a fluid document. I want you to be able to review this, but please make certain it says it is a confidential internal draft at this point. It is not for public dissemination. It will be for public dissemination once the school board deals with it. And there's nothing of a major change from the previous one. All we've done is try to do some cleanups of it, where there's some new recommendations that are out there, new advice from key people. We've included that type of information. And what we'd like to have you do is on your own, just spend some time looking at it. And if you get some specific feedback on it, please share that with Holly and myself through a common email to both, please.
Frank, can I jump in? It's
Yeah.
okay that I hit share here, right, with the staff?
Yeah, you can go.
Knowing- Reiterating you guys that please do not share it with anyone else. It gets messy when there's multiple copies out. So I'm sharing that right now so you guys can look through that. If I hit staff, it hits everyone, right?
Yes.
Okay. And also just to reiterate some of the things Frank said, really what we did is we added detail. And so definitely check that out. Any feedback is so it's heading your way now. Otherwise, I'll just keep it here and people can look on their own.
Yeah. And Holly, do you still have the changes highlighted or have you put them in regular text now?
They're regular.
Okay. So if you go through it, it's pretty consistent with what we've had in the past. I'm not going to read it to you. That would be boring. And I get tired when I read out loud, so that would not be particularly good. So read through it, see if it makes sense to you. Try to have the view of a parent who might be getting this. One of the things that we've wrestled with is how much detail do you put into a return to school plan? And this probably got a little bit longer than we initially thought. And that's why there's going to be a set of administrative rules that tags on to it. We did add some appendix items for people. And so Holly, why don't you just scroll real quick through it?
So let's see. I think this is a big change that some of you will see, the home-based support. Really, this is just for right now, kind of referring to that distance Montessori that we're talking about with that staff. Let's see. Just once again, added details. I don't want to make anyone nauseous here as I flip through it, but try to get.
Go back to that embedded chart there.
Yep.
Holly does a great job with graphics. One of the things, and you probably are well aware of it, the symptoms include.
Right here.
They keep adding to that list.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is going to change probably. But we wanted to include the symptoms of COVID as it compares to symptoms from other types of things that kids have in school. And that's a good perspective for people to have.
Transportation, try to get a little more specific on this because obviously that's something parents are asking about.
Yeah, and with that, you know, initially CDC said one kid every other seat, so there'd be 12 kids on a 72 passenger bus with no kids in the front seat. We're going a single kid per seat. Family members can be in the same seat. And then we put in there kind of a caveat. You know, if we're short distance from school and we need multiple non-families in a seat, they can be in there, but they can have they can have a mask on. We just can't afford to leave kids sitting there.
And then under the safe distancing and room, I'm going to talk about this individual's teacher's plan. It's nothing crazy. It's like a little blurb from you. I'll talk about that at the end of the agenda when I'm doing my stuff. PE, art, music, those are the people I've talked to thus far, and OT, PT, speech, student services. So just kind of some details there, just adding the conversations and things in. So that
Well,
is,
I want to go back to, you know, I know everyone is doing a wonderful job with figuring this thing out.
mhm.
Some of the more challenging areas are art, music, and Phi-Ed, just with what they do. And so I know the conversations that they've had, there's been some meetings with their regional groups, and et cetera. Just kudos to trying to figure out how you handle that. And, you know, the approach that we've taken on on specials, and it might change,
Mhm.
is that having the kids go to the specials. Some schools, the specials are going into the classrooms to do it. We talked about it at one or two of our meetings. That does not give classroom teachers the time to have their prep time and that relaxation time that they absolutely must have. And I think with good cleaning, et cetera, it's better for kids to go to their specials. Plus they get up and around.
So, and I think, you know, there's some changes in some terminology just based on the conversations we've had with teachers. There are times where we're using that word required, but very delicately, always with the caveat after, unless, you know, medical documentation is provided. So we understand that wording is kind of it's a hairy area, but we're trying to use it consistently and sensitively.
Go back up to the facial screenings.
Sure. Sorry, don't get sick.
That's okay. We put in there that, you know, we're under the governor's order for screenings with the exceptions that are outlined there. One of the things that that we're doing is there's any number of legal seminars that are out there. One of the CISAs does it. WASB is doing it. I've consulted with two specific attorneys from two different firms on some of the issues with return to school and facial coverings, that sort of stuff. There's more stuff coming out on this here. We just got an email this morning. I think it was this morning from Mike Thompson, the Deputy State Superintendent, with some more stuff. This may change some. One of the things that I do is I like to borrow from people who are a lot smarter than me. So I will go on the Eau Claire Schools website, look at their policies. They have they had their own policy on facial coverings that they approved after the governor's order. They plan to have it in place anyhow. Trying to see where there is any flexibility or what flexibilities might be. But the message loud and clear has to be that under the governor's order, people are supposed to have masks on unless they have in a school environment, unless they have an approved exemption for it. And so we need to work towards that compliance. We'll talk about it during in-service, and there'll probably be some more information out. And so we'll be moving forward with that. The school board, in approving the plan, will be approving you know, the facial coverings components of the governor's order. Plus, we'll be developing our own administrative rules and regulations that will have a little bit more definition to it. Some of the legal stuff I get, they add a little bit more to it, to things. So we want to be able to track that and just see as that issue might evolve a bit. So.
Frank, for the sake of time, do we
Yep.
just want to let people look through this on their own and,
Look through it on your own.
okay.
But I think the facial coverings one is probably the biggest one out there in society right now. And right now, I'm at a place right now where people are making choices either to or not to wear. So let's move on then, all right? Want to bring the agenda up?
Yep, I'm getting there. Sorry, it's kind of wonky due to my recording, but it's coming. If
A
that's-
lot of the stuff on the agenda is heads up for you guys. So we are going to start sending out the approved plan starting next Tuesday. If there's any changes the board wants, they'll be done via a mass mailing. There will also be some specific inserts there for specific classrooms that might have anything they want. So those will be getting out. Employees need to be concerned and pay attention to employee self-screenings. A major emphasis with return to school is both families and employees doing self-screenings. Concern that we heard expressed, though, you can't rely 100% on self-screenings for people. And but especially for staff, I can't emphasize enough how important it is to protect your health. One of the people who was at our last meeting said there's not a lot of people sitting on the bench out there to be teachers right now. If we get people who are sick, etc. And so we just really want to encourage people to please take care of your health as much as possible. You'll need to do temperature screenings at home, and there'll be a form that you'll complete that has symptoms and also what types of people have you been in contact with that may have had COVID or, that sort of stuff. I put a question there. If anyone has any access issues,
Let us know.
to a thermometer or anything else like that to do self-screening, just communicate that to us. Somewhere down the line, it's going to talk about a potential app that we might be using through M3 insurance companies, but we're not going to have everything up and running 100% come day one. It's impossible to do, but it will probably be to start with the verification form that you complete on a daily basis. Then we'll hopefully move to a simple app that you can do. We really want people to know if you're not feeling well, stay home and then communicate with us as best possible for while you're staying at home. Another thing that came out of the meeting was the important idea of us screening kids, especially with temperature screens, and we'll be monitoring their health. But that whole role should be somebody other than Linda or Lisa. So we did post for a medical screener position where that person will be doing a lot of the paperwork relative to return to school regarding medical screenings of people, keeping track of any medical records that we get from it. We'll be developing and following protocols in terms of someone needs to be sent home, contacting local health department, that sort of thing, and just making sure that we are following exactly what's being recommended for when we have someone who is ill at school, especially if it potentially could be COVID related. Obviously, the health department is really interested in any tracing they can have of who's been in contact with other people. So that position is posted, and there's 1 or 2 interviews taking place this week. Holly's going to be working on that in conjunction with the para posting. Return to school screening. There will be a specific form I'll have you fill out when you return to school for the very first time. It will give us that benchmark that no one has been to some foreign country traveling or, et cetera. But that's a form that's in process to be developed so we can have a good baseline for where we're at with the health of people. When in doubt, don't come to work if you're not feeling well. And then we'll follow through on that. During day screenings, encourage people to self-monitor and report any related symptoms you might have during the day. The medical screener will also be doing some things. That person will be doing some temperature screenings of people. It may be every morning. We don't know yet. It may be upon entrance to the school. We need to work that out. But you can see that person will do a lot of protocols. And we really think it's important, the daily screening, whenever possible, to start with, just so people get a sense of really watching their health. Obviously causes troubles if people are coming into school on the bus and not feeling well. There's been some conversation, do we do temperature checks before kids get on buses? There's all sorts of harried issues to try and do that. That may be something we do, but at this point we can't jump on board and say that's what we will be doing. Here's some important stuff for staff. Last spring, Leanne sent out some of the legal notices on the FMLA and paid sick leave. That's available through federal law because of what's happening with COVID. And so for the emergency FMLA, you can see the basic criteria there. I'm not going to read them to you, but if you have a kid at home because of daycare or school not being open, that sort of thing, there's some detail there in terms of how much you can take, et cetera, and some of the conditions of it. If you need specifics of that particular law, please let us know. We'll also be posting it so you have it with with other postings. Then the other one is the emergency paid sick leave for people. And that's basically if you've been in quarantine or been told that you must be in quarantine, here's a paid leave provision that you might have. People can have intermittent leave when it's approved. People need some level of documentation for some of the leaves that might be necessary. We hope people don't need to take it, but if you need to, we want to follow exactly what the federal government is requiring of us. And then they say special considerations apply to 1 through 5, and I don't know what those are. But we know that there's more detail in the big, thicker documents relative to this. So from a health perspective, I want to make certain that you're coming to school, you're feeling healthy. If there's any of these federal leaves that you think you might qualify for, please become familiar with it. Ask Leanne, ask myself, so that you know, you can take advantage of those as is proper to do so. Let's keep scrolling down. Return to work issues there. I've had a couple conversations with people, and there's any number of reasons why people might be requesting accommodations upon the return to work. The vast majority of them are Americans with Disabilities Act related ones. There are other categories for requesting accommodations. What I'd like to have you do is, if you're requesting a specific accommodation that you have not already requested thus far, and when I say that, I mean that if you've requested in writing at this point via email, I've got it. But if you would send me an email, carbon copy, Leanne and or Linda or Holly on it. I always like to have, whenever possible, 2 people taking a look at those things. So that if you feel that you're going to need any accommodations returning, especially under the ADA part, and it can be you've got a suppressed immune system yourself, you're dealing with a health issue that coming back under COVID might present a particular health risk issue to you. It could be something we're not aware of. Do it as an ADA accommodations request. What that does is that brings us to the part then where we meet the requirement of having an ongoing conversation relative to any accommodation request that an employee has, so that we can process it through. And what we do on the accommodation request, we bounce them off of other people, and then we want to arrive at a solution. And when you do request any accommodation, if you come up with what those accommodations might look like. So we see if they're practical and feasible, and there's something that's affordable for us as a school. So as you know, the sooner you do those, the better. But we do need to work with you on those, and want to work with you on any accommodations that are necessary. The interesting piece on the accommodations is we will also be dealing with students with medical histories or medical issues where accommodations are also necessary to do. And what we need to be able to do is to align the accommodations that a student has with any accommodations that a staff member might have. We also then need to work with staff members when a student has a accommodation that must be made, that the staff member is aware of it. And you know, on some of them, it might be just greater social distancing, or excuse me, safer distancing. We don't do social, it is safer distancing. So we need to blend those together where we see people crossing paths during the day. But we want to start that process so we can get going on it. Number 8, flexible calendar. I'm going to be talking at the school board meeting on Monday that we take a look at taking 2 days during the fall, probably during first quarter. Okay, and this is thinking in progress, guys, where there would be no school. You know, there's been suggestions that we do maybe a day now and then, or even we've had a few people say a day a week where it's deep cleaning. I do think with the additional janitorial time that we're going to have, and we will have janitorial time all day long with additional equipment, et cetera, that we will probably be pretty good. But the idea being there, I know that you people are putting in a lot of time. There's a lot of extra time that people are putting in between now and the official start of in-service. What I want to communicate to the board is that people in good faith are putting in lots of extra time and effort getting ready for a safe return to school. And if we close school down for 2 days, that would be a that employees would not need to be there, with the caveat that, you know, if people have put in the extra time leading up to this here, but we'll work through a process. But it's basically saying it's a recognition of the additional time and effort that people put in this summer, working with COVID and the return to school. Because if you went 24 hours without thinking COVID in school, you're probably the exception to the case. And this is just roll up our sleeves and let's work real hard, guys. And I think you need to know I want to shoot for 2 days of release where people are probably not necessarily going to be obligated to be at school in those days. Appreciate that to be pretty much an internal conversation at this point. But just let you know that we appreciate all the extra effort of everybody this summer and moving forward. Holly, COVID teacher plan. Why don't you talk about that?
Sure. It's down in my thing too. There's a blip in the
Or I can take this one here if you want to go down and get it after.
yeah, I'll get it after.
Holly and I are 200 miles apart. And so we've been
Like you're in the room next door, Frank.
What's that?
Like you're in the room next door.
Oh, I tell you. Okay, let me go real quick on my COVID teacher plan stuff.
Yep.
What we're going to be looking for is that you're thinking of safer distancing in your rooms. How it can be accomplished? We do have that grid that we put together, and Holly will bring that up after. There's a column, how many people can be in a room if it's 6 feet of distance, 7, 8, and 12. We did 12 just to show large rooms. Our target for capacities on rooms is 7. That doesn't mean you're 7 feet apart, but it takes into account that there is a lot of junk that people have in rooms, including perimeter cabinets, that sort of stuff. I also had some feedback, and I love when people share things with me. You know, I had one, it was basically, have you seen the idea of 36 square feet per person? And so I said, well, I'll take a look at it. So I applied the 36 square foot per participant formula to our room sizes. And that lines up perfectly with 6 feet of safer distancing. And where we get a difference is if you're in a 900 square foot room, if you use the 6 foot or 36 square foot, the capacity of that room is 25 people, including, you know, the adults. If we do the 7, it's 18. So what we're really recommending is that whenever possible, we are very close to that 7 foot number. And we'll probably have something on room doors that say recommended capacities. Now there's going to be exceptions all over the place on some of this stuff, but whenever possible, we want to maintain that type of distancing or have it such that during the day, there are periods of time where your kids could be in safer distancing. It doesn't mean that in every room, it's always going to be safer distancing. With facial coverings on, you clearly can have things closer than 6 feet. I don't advise that a whole lot simply because I think it's the whole idea. Every place I go to, even the place I'm at now, where people are, there's about a 90%, 95% mask following policy. People are following it. They still have their circles 6 feet apart. That's 6 feet, as I understand it. And correct me if I'm wrong, because this changes, and I've been wrong in a lot of this stuff. That's if you don't have a mask of 6 feet. But we want to have places or times in rooms where you can be fully 6 feet apart and safe. The other thing for it is we want to make certain that when we have students who've got a medical health plan or a staff member, that we can protect them by having greater spaces there.
Can I add a little to that?
Sure.
I'm working on what that looks, you know, visually throughout the school and stuff. And one thing I'm kind of bouncing around is even when we're here in the office, if I get up and leave my space, I put a mask on. So this idea of like, you know, if your feet move your space, put a mask on your face, you know, kind of have that just behaviors that we all do. So that idea, if a kid gets up to go move somewhere, chances are they're going to be walking by someone, whether that's to change classes and be in the hallway. So that idea of just creating the habit of when we get up, mask on our face, you know. So if you have any really great witty ways to put that, please share them with me. That's all.
So part of the plan will be something dealing with interim, seating plans, how you can accomplish it.
Mhm.
Barriers and shields as needed. Let us know where you might need some barriers and shields. We've been getting inundated by vendors with all these shields and things. Trouble is, some of the ones we've been getting at, yes, we can get them. They're $800 a shield. That's the most expensive one we've seen. What Mark is doing is he has gotten a supply of polycarbonate clear film sheets from Menards. And he's starting to make some visual barriers that people can have in classrooms. And we're targeting a few classrooms first, but if you feel that you're going to need something like that, shoot an email and just do it as send it to me, send it to Carbon Copy, Holly and Mark, or whatever, the three of us, whatever. Just say barriers and shields. And so we get you on a list. We're not going to have everything from the get-go. We're going to deal with people where we know that there's probably some medical issues where the barriers and shields is the most logical thing to have. But we need to get a good idea of where you might be with needing that. Those of you who are in special areas, speech and language and one-on-one resource type, that's a whole different critter with what you might be needing there. So we're going to working towards getting those, and I look more and more and I see more creative ways of having shields. There's going to be some in the kitchen. We're looking at some for the lunchroom tables, but just any place that we need barriers and shields. What we have the first day of school will be different than probably what we have after a month of school. And then we put down there how to deal with students who are approved not to have facial coverings. There will probably be some students that have an approved plan not to have facial coverings, so we're going to deal with that. So part of that is keeping really good social distancing, if that's a particular issue where a student has that legal right not to have a shield on. So just be extremely sensitive to it on any of these issues. The feds are really emphasizing no discrimination, especially based on the disability someone has. So as accommodations are made for people, we need to be extremely respectful when an accommodation has been approved. And there are times we can't even say that an accommodation is being made without the permission of that employee or that particular student. So we use the 7-foot formula amount. Forgotten sometimes is the first thing I see listed on most things from a number of the agencies is hand washing is critical for this. So we'll want staff to emphasize hand washing, hand washing, hand washing. And it appears to be with soap and water is the preferred method, but we're going to have sanitizer in all sorts of places. And we need to teach kids, we need to model it for them, the best ways to do both of those. We'll probably have the kids together, do some videos with them, talk to them about when they come back to school. But it's just getting them in that routine. I'm with a couple of grandkids. It's amazing. 3 years up and above. They're getting this so they understand what they do. And it's pretty, I love looking at my 3-year-old as he's doing this sort of stuff. Reporting of COVID symptoms, we'll emphasize if you're sensing any youngster not feeling well, let us know. That's where the medical screener comes into play, that we can start tracking kids who might be coming down with things. The same is true if you're starting to feel bad during the day, let us know immediately. We're going to need help, number 5, on intermittent cleaning of areas. We will have additional time, but we can't be everywhere. So we'll be working with Mark and people that, yep, everyone's going to probably do some wiping down or disinfecting of areas in their rooms occasionally. You'll see that especially art and music areas, but any of the high contact areas where kids come in and use things a lot, we're going to just need extra help on that. And then the most difficult one is number 6, when there's absent students, how a student needs to be met. You guys did a great job during the lockdown or shutdown. With some of the protocols, some kids may have to be home for 10 days at a time. So that's one we're going to have to figure out, how do we meet the needs of those kids. So Holly, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Okay, couple things here. In addition to this list, I've been making notes here. first thing, room assignment layout. Let me just touch on that really quick. I know most of you that it affects has seen it. Hold on one sec. Yes, I know. Thank you. Okay. So there we go. Zooming in a little here. Not really anything over here has changed really. So I will just kind of talk about over here so everyone knows.
Over here is elementary hallway area.
Yep, over here is elementary hallway. So just starting at the bottom, grade 1 down here because they have a very small class. Children's house, E1. Keep going north here in the building, whether that really is. Actually, I think it is. This is PKK, and then they have a little larger. And then E2 is here. There has been a doorway put in there. Grade 2 is here. Grade 4 and 5 are using these spaces. They're co-teaching, but they have that space available. Grade 3 is here. Art is here. So a little changes right here. 122 is, I call it the swing room. That is still the swing room and used for different services in that room. That can't be changed. Here we have Shauna is in this room here, and she obviously uses this room a lot as well, so that's the location for that. Lori has now gone to this space. This is where OTPT had their desks and did some individual services and things here. I'll talk about them in a second. This is now the overflow room for E1. So that is kind of connected to here now. OTPT they are awesome, and all of our specialists there. They use obviously hallway spaces, and they are willing to use the stage area for bigger spaces. And their new resting place is the detention dungeon. That is being cleaned out. It's looking very nice. That is going to be their home base where their desks are. They may do some individual things in there with kids as space allows and whatnot. So working with Beth Hanson Love to talk about where is the best place for our resources for our teacher. This is a really hard space to work with kids just because there's super awesome stuff going on next door all the time that can sometimes be loud. So talking about maybe this can be a space for some of that resource material for teachers. These little rooms up here, we can work with maybe to have some more space. So we're working on that. Thank you for being flexible. Otherwise, that's kind of where it's sitting right now. And just thank you for people being flexible and willing to see the big picture and being able to move. I really hate asking people to move rooms. It makes me feel sick inside because it's hard. But thank you for those that are being really flexible because, yeah, I'd add on a wing if I could. But
A
so
couple other changes, that
Couple things in the chat if you want that
Sure.
kind of fit right here.
Yep.
One of the questions is, Frank or Holly, when you get a chance, can the room capacity spreadsheet that you shared be shared again?
yes,
And
I don't have access to that, Frank. Can you work on that?
I'll send that out to people.
Thank you.
And then Jeremy just wanted to update everybody that as long as he had us all captive,
Mhm.
right now the school, grade school hallways will be closed the remainder of this week. So if you're a weekend person, come in then, but otherwise please know that the hallway in the grade school, the elementary school, is closed.
Thank you. That was on my list, Jeremy.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay, so that's where that's at. And I am making this newer thing. I'll have the phone extensions on there. I'll share that with you when I get it done. Then let me get back to the agenda. Hold on, be patient with me. Okay, so next, in-service schedule. Just kidding, I shared the wrong thing. We are looking at, let me give you a visual. It's a lot easier. Sorry to keep switching, hold on. Okay. So, this is kind of what we're looking at now. And I understand that originally this August 21st day was just for new staff. This is a day that, for those of you needing technical support, CISA made themselves available, Mary did, to be coming in and kind of doing, it's not going to be a sit and get, I'm not going to make you sit and listen to it all, but it's going to be organized in the sense that it's going to be specifically targeted toward Google Classroom, and there's going to be different topics, and you can join in when the topic pertains to you, because we're all at super different places in that. But it's also going to be allowed time for you to check in with Mary if you have any specific questions, whether you're at a beginner level, middle level, or an advanced level. So more to come on that, but that's when that is. Now, knowing that this is a change, this was originally, like I said, just new staff, and now we're hoping it's all staff. You might be on a scheduled vacation. Just contact me individually, and we'll work out those details, okay? So now, considering that I took a day here, looking at the schedule a little differently, these days, the 24th through the 26th, those are just going to remain the same. August 27th, this was originally a full day because of the community dinner. Obviously, that isn't happening in the situation that we are in. So from a full day, that is now just down to a half of day. So that's accounting for half of this day that I stole up here. The other half day, if you look down here at the highlighted day on November 23rd, that was originally a full day in service, changing that to a half day. So that's kind of where I'm thinking right now. We don't need to open this up to a bunch of I can't, whatever. Just email me if there's any issues with that. Mostly the issue is going to be up here with this August 21st day. The rest of them were kind of already scheduled in. So that's where I'm at with that. Beth, man the chat if there's anything I blatantly missed. Obviously, a detailed schedule will be coming out. I'm super cognizant about the fact that you guys need room in your classrooms. You need time in your classrooms and doing virtual platform stuff if available, if possible. So I'm not going to pack your days with stuff. I'm super sensitive to that. Obviously, there's going to be times where we need some group meetings because the information needs to be addressed as a group, but just know that I am super sensitive to that. So,
Holly, there are two things in the chat we haven't spoken about yet. One was Jen Makala recommending possibly using the student aids to help with cleaning and sanitizing.
good thought.
And then another one was from Lisa. She would like an updated schedule to add to the Google Calendar.
Yes, ma'am. Hey, Lisa, just because I have 17 windows open, can you just send me that in an email right now so I don't forget to do it, please? Okay, so
I
that's
think
it.
the idea of, student aides who can help out, we need to make certain that it's products that they can use,
Yep.
all that good stuff.
Yeah,
Good ideas.
yep, very good ideas. Okay, next.
Oh, the other thing with that, for the return to work group, we had a list of supplies, and it's in the plan also. Mark has gotten, I don't know, 40 some electronic, I think, soap dispensers, and moving towards a lot of things that are touchless, that you'll see getting phased in. So be watchful of that sort of stuff. We're trying to get as close to touchless as we can in high use areas in the school.
Awesome. Thank you. Next, schedule. I know you were all chomping at the bit for this. I want you to know that I plan on having a rough draft at that Friday, August 21st in service. So that we can all have eyes on it and such. We have some time set aside. Russ and I, if you are one of those people that have been blessed with the superpower of being able to understand scheduling and really see things in a bigger picture, email me right now and say, Holly, I'd like to be involved. Because a couple different eyes on that obviously works great. And I know I got some suggestions along the way from names, but I don't have them because it was said in passing and stuff. So, or if you want to suggest someone, just email me and let me know. Because I know some of you have that gift. So please email me. of that process.
I'll jump in on scheduling a bit. One of the areas that we're looking at for some scheduling is for some of the rooms where the sitting is really tight and the class sizes are large. We got two options. One is moving to a larger room, or B, splitting the kids into two different groups. And so, especially at the high school level, we want to take a look at some of those larger classes and see how we might be able to split those up. If you're one of those people, don't feel like you got to put 24 sardines into a 6 sardine can. So work with Holly on it, and she's working with at least one person on some options there. And we want to just be real open to having good, safer distancing. And there's a couple of classes with you split it in half, and it's still not particularly a lot of distancing that occurs. It's acceptable, but it's not a abundance in spacing.
Yep, and Russ and I have specifically talked about a couple of those. I think it was maybe Bruce and who else were we talking about, Russ? Having a brain fart. Joanne, you want to jump in, Russ?
It was the physical science 9 being huge, and that was splitting and moving half of them to a section of physical science 9 during Eagle Hour, and then taking, I think, a lunch duty. Bruce, I think that's you, and moving your Eagle Hour to that time so that you can support them that hour.
So we're working on stuff. Understand, we know it's not the perfect world. We're doing the best we can. We just are trying to accommodate those big sizes. So those are in the works. But once again, always feel free to email us with any thoughts, suggestions, things like that. I'm trying to get to that 2:50 time period so we have time for questions. I think I can do it. Okay, once again, specials may look differently. Instead of 30 kids going twice a week, maybe it's 15 going once a week. So be flexible, because we have to be very sensitive to the fact that they need some time in between classes to either wipe some things down, just to create, having classes one on top of another is not realistic right now. So working on what that might look like. Staffing. So we have interviews this week for para and medical screener. The para position is the Tammy Cleansing. She retired, I believe. So specifically that position, and also the medical screener. Some of you were involved in that on Thursday. Thank you for volunteering for that. I'll be sending out that calendar in a minute for who's doing that. Second, we have for our first grade position, we are doing an internal transfer there. Dee Blaylock will be our first grade teacher and AGR person. First grade right now is sitting at about 5, maybe 6 kids. So this year we're looking at this working, and we're going to have to make some deliberate time. AGR is not something that's just taking second seat. I want to put that out there right now. Some deliberate time, either working with first grade, being able to go with maybe to specials or something, or outside time. We have to be very deliberate. Don't know what that looked like yet, but we're working on it. Very deliberate time set aside for AGR, because we have to keep the integrity of that position. So that's where we're at with that. Obviously, that's pending approval from the school board with that position.
Just a little background, especially those not connected to lower elementary. We've seen a fair number of new students enrolling in the school for any number of reasons. We're picking up some at the early ages. Last Thursday, I think it was, or Wednesday, the enrollment was sitting at 299. That does not include kids that might not be coming to school. They're moving somewhere else. We may have some families where they stay at home because they're just not comfortable with the startup of school, etc. But that 299 number, those who've been around for a while, that is such an awesome number to see, knowing that we don't know where it's going to shake out in the long run. But what we're trying to do is some preemptive staffing so that we have a spot there for the first graders, and we want to be creative with what we do with it. We're also picking up at the virtual charter school level a number of people, and Linda is probably online. She can probably, would probably know exactly, she would know exactly what we have for additional new ones, but as of last week, it was $299. So, and we expect some fluctuations, but it certainly looks a lot more encouraging than when we were sitting at about the 260 to 265 number, not that many years ago. So what we hear from people is this: they're coming to Solon Springs for reasons. We don't get this, we're coming to Solon Springs because we have to come here. Linda listens very well, and she hears things like, well, in the school that my kids went to, they didn't handle the virtual, or they had next to nothing in March and April. We've heard that different sources. They're coming here because of what they see you folks doing here. And so a lot of them have a story to tell about why they're coming to Solon Springs. And, that's such an important piece. And, my long-term goal when we come out of COVID is we're going to be so much better and further ahead from where we were. And it's a lesson that we need to continue to teach to our kids, no matter how tough the environment is that we have to go through. We absolutely have no choice except to come out of it much better than when we entered into it. And I tell you, the feedback we're getting from new parents, it's really validating the stuff that you folks have been doing so well. So thank you.
Yeah, ditto. Individual teacher plan, that was that thing that Frank mentioned above. It's a blip in our plan. That is just us making a conscious effort to make sure we've heard the needs of each teacher, and that we've had, we have that recorded and whatnot. That's not going to be a super detailed thing. It's going to come to you probably in the form of a Google form, where now we'll just be able to have the information from every teacher. So it'll be more of a fill in the blank thing. You're going to be seeing that from me. I wanted to have it done right now, but I don't. I will have it done very soon, and it'll be coming out to you. So watch for that, and I'll just remind you if I don't get it. Next, bravo to some of you that I've talked to. Remember, we're always having in the back of our mind, what if we go to virtual land with a little warning? And so just another reminder that for those of you that have really taken this to heart and are doing their lesson planning and kind of setting up their virtual platform as they go, maybe even thinking about as you're in face-to-face, you're actually using the virtual platform right in your classroom, and you're practicing it with your kids, and all their information is available right there. So that if we had to go to all virtual school-wide, it's not seamless, because that's a dreamland, but it is at least an easier transition, and you have some things in place for that. Also, bravo to those teachers that Jen Macklow reached out. We're really excited about further developing that virtual land for our students, especially that middle high school level. About having, instead of having to have students take some virtual classes from our virtual charter school, we could actually have some teachers in-house being able to do that. And those are those teachers that are really taken to heart. Wow, I have my classroom on Google anyway. So it's not really any different if my kids are here versus home. And knowing that, if we all go to that, we're all using it. So bravo to those teachers who are really thinking ahead and envisioning that, and don't be afraid to reach out to those teachers. Now, if you're a person who is getting totally sick to your stomach when we talk about Google Classroom and having all of your curriculum online and things like that, don't worry. We're all in this together. We're at different places, and we are going to help you through that. One thing I do want to note is that once again on August 21st, that Friday, that new in-service day, Mary from CISA is here. You please take time to check in with her that day. That is here for you. So if you need some specific help, that is the day. Next, let me just check my list before I do these two things.
And you got 3 minutes or so.
Yeah, sorry.
Not that anybody is counting.
Yeah, they are. This is my phone number. Put it in your phone. And then if you want to text me, if you feel like you want me to have your cell phone for any reason, it comes in handy sometimes, just text me and say, this is so-and-so. I have a person whose phone is always on. If I'm sleeping, I silence it, whatever, not always. I don't care if you text me at 2 a.m. It doesn't bother me. I'm usually always connected. So feel free that at any time, if you need to connect with me, I'm there. You might get my groggy voice, but I'll be there, okay? So put that in your phone, send me a text if you want me to have yours. Lastly, we do want to make sure that we're meeting all the needs of our staff and that they are getting this information. So if you could go right now and put your name in the chat that you are here, that would be awesome. Just do that before you exit. And that's all I think I have right now. Beth, any chat stuff?
No, they're just putting their names in now. The last was that Bruce did. He said they have split classes before. They used to do it all the time. So it should be something we can easily pick up and run with. Cool.
Thank you, Bruce. So put your name in the chat. Otherwise, that is all I have, Frank.
I have nothing else. We just wanted to make certain we're all on kind of the same page. Please understand this is a changing environment. We're trying to monitor things. If you see changing things out there that we should be aware of, don't hesitate to shoot us an email on stuff. I can't wait to get the students back. Can't wait to have you guys back. It's awfully lonely just working with Holly, the back office people all summer.
I'm fun.
It has been nothing short of, it has not been a boring summer, I tell you. But I know we're going to be in good shape when the students return. And it's going to be, there's so many parents who can't wait for their kids to be here because they know that's where they need to be. So thanks for making me so welcoming.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Other than that, is there anybody that has anything that needs to be heard right now? Going once? Twice? Yay. All right, Frank, don't close out the meeting because I want to make sure everything's saved, so.
All right. Thanks,
I'm
guys.
going to stand by. I'm going to start packing up my stuff.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Soon.
Frank, if you want to hang on a minute, that'd be awesome.
Yep, I'm just going to start packing my stuff. I'll wait until you say it's coast is closed.